Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market, right? Tesla on another rip-roaring day, just skyrocketing double digits again. If that's not a gamma squeeze, I just don't know what is, but I'm not surprised by it, and I'll show you why. That was somebody put in the Discord, and I'll show you the chart that kind of said, wow, there's good chances it might happen, right? But what I'm going to do is put a snapshot into what kind of market we're in right now, what's happening, right, in the overall picture here with a bunch of different indicators you can see, and because a lot of people are confused. Like, what's happening? Is this a bear market rally? Is this the new bull market? Is it something else? Which is a good question, right? And then, of course, we'll go into the charts and stuff and look because something else bullish happened today on one of the indexes, right? And it's about to happen on another. So, they're things to understand and know so you can kind of take the data, depending on where you're at. Because again, some people get in these camps where they're in the bear camp and they'll never ever relent. Some have always been in the bull camp, right? Rode it all the way down. They're always in the bull camp, and so you just got to figure it out. And some people just aren't in any camp, right? They're just trying to figure it out with the data. So that's what I want to show you. But understand, where we're at now is normally you would definitely be saying, whatever you do, don't buy right now. When is a really bad time to buy into the market? It's when you're sitting where we're sitting on a lot of different things, but there's other data that can just say, well, this may be the negative part of it. Maybe that's just short term though, but here's some positive stuff you need to look at. And this market is basically done a total disconnect at this point in time because what you got is we're in extreme fear on the greed index. I like to look at. If you go with the CNN one, it's in greed. It's very close to extreme greed, which is really not where you want to be. And it can stay in extreme greed for a while though. When you go on these crazy rallies like we are right now, right? People will tell you don't buy when the VIX is at 18. Well, guess what? The VIX is dead. The VIX ain't doing nothing. People aren't even hedging. There's just no fear in the market whatsoever, all right? What else you got going on? You got a disconnect happening between the dollar yields and the stock market, especially when I say the stock market right now, I'm talking about high beta stuff. The dollar's been up 2 days in a row. The yields have been up 2 days in a row. And guess what? The high beta stuff, like your Robloxes, your ARKs, all that stuff, Teslas, they don't care. They're absolutely rip roaring. It total disconnect. Ain't affecting them. It's not even affecting semiconductors anymore. Okay. The other thing is people partying. Like all of a sudden we got quantitative easing going on, and this is a chart to show you that. You can see where we're at over there, even though we're supposed to be in quantitative tightening. Every other time you see this where I'm highlighting right here, when we've done these major rallies, it's when the Fed has been cutting and stuff like that and putting, the government's giving out checks and everything else. That's not happening right now, but it don't seem to matter. The market said the heck with it. We're easing conditions on our own, and that's exactly what happened right now. You saw, rates come down again today on certain loans and things like that. What else are you seeing? Job cuts are a good thing, right? These are the big tech companies that have laid off. This is the percentage of workforce they laid off, and then look at the share price jump once they've done it, right? You have Alphabet kind of got a little one, but look at the big ones. Coin lays off 20% of his workforce. Great for growth, by the way. Boom, 13% moving. It's up way more than that. I mean, way more than that. Stitch Fix, 20%, 9.4%. Wayfair, 10%, up 20%. And so, layoffs are a good thing in this market right now. What else is going on? We know if you're in this little line right here, retail, absolutely flying into individual stocks, not ETFs right now. So that's important to understand. They're not going into ETFs. I showed you this last week. Now we updated it for this week. Individual stocks. And you've seen this multiple times, right? You go all the way back to January 21 when we piled in individual stocks. And it's funny when you see this coming down, what do you see pop up? ETFs. Now, what are they going into, of course? Well, this proves it. Tech, XLK. You can see for the year 2023, XLK is up 11%. Where are they rotating out of? Where's big money rotating out of? XLU, XLV, because don't think big money is not going into tech right now. All right, XLF, because we got high interest rates, which is going to stay that way for a while as well. But they're coming out of healthcare and utilities, which we're dominating, like Q4, of course. What else do you got? You got the 200-day moving averages on the NASDAQ 100. You got 58%. I put this out every single morning, Monday through Friday, for other members to let them know where this is at. It's not there for anybody's health. It is there to let them know because this is letting you know where the market's actually going. And so on the NASDAQ 100, 58% above the 200-day moving average, 50-day moving average on the S&P, 73% of stocks now. 200-day moving average on the S&P, 65%. So that is a big move up from where it was last year. And now we're going to get into the charts because something happened today on one of the charts, and then there's other things we can got to look out for, but is actually happening, and there's nothing bearish about it, guys. And you look at Russell 2000, what happened? The golden cross, the 50 crossing the 200 today. It's sitting right in that chop box, or right at the top of that chop box. It's been in there for a while now, and it's starting to break out. And so we're going to see if it can finally hold and move up. Again, golden crosses don't mean something's going to just rock it up, but for long term, we're talking about weeks to months. It is a bullish thing. When this happens, there's nothing wrong with it. The Qs, right? What happened? Above the 200-day moving average, super bullish, breaking out of the chop box. Can it retest and move above that trend line right above, which I mentioned yesterday? If it get that, again, that's super bullish. Again, it's a ways away from a golden cross, but again, the market will move up way faster than you'll get that golden cross. That golden cross on some of these indexes are going to come months later. By then, you're up, astronomically. And look at the RSI; it's getting to overbought now, right? It's getting to overbought. You would think it'd be way more overbought with this move we've had, but that's just not the case right now. And then, of course, going over the SPY, you can see, so close to a golden cross, but again, we've broken out of that triangle right there, moved up, and man, we are right there, setting at that double top I told you about, which is around 4,100, and I think we're only like 0.4% off or something like that. Now, I know you're thinking, wait a minute, why did we stop there? I don't understand. You can see down there, on the daily here, the RSI is not even close to being overbought. Another thing I want you to keep in mind too is this is dart pool activity, and this is coming in by like the billions. And you can see some of these levels, 395, 401, we had a 403. Today we had a 404.50, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. And these can act as support and resistance. They can act as a magnet to pull the price down or up towards it. And so if you're looking at a chart and you got your support levels drawn out and all of a sudden bounces in some weird place, you're like, what was that? Odds are that's what it was, right? That's just how these act. And so that's the firms and the market makers doing, their stuff that they do. And so that's important to understand. And by the way, if you are getting anything out of this, please hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And if you're getting anything out of this, please hit the like and think about sharing the video, guys, because it really does help, the channel and to push it out and, let more people discover the video and stuff. So I really do appreciate that. And, understand, we're right. You're probably thinking, well, why can't we just didn't break the 4,100 a day? Guys, remember, this is like a movie. It's a production, right? And this is why I show you those really short-term time frames when I'm showing you like early this week when we were up against the 200, and I was like, oh, look, we didn't break above it, right? We didn't break above it. It's like, tune in to tomorrow. Well, this is the same thing. Tune in next week to Monday, because most likely we're going to end up breaking it. So, it's just all this is, all right? This is the bulls and bears fighting out, market makers doing what they do. It's just production. It's like a big show. It's a game, right? It's like a casino, right? And so they can't take all your money at once. So they just take it a little bit at a time to keep you coming back. And so it's kind of how the stock market is, right? And so, I know one thing, just to answer you guys' question, I've been getting this a lot lately. I guess I'll continue to put this in here if you like it. But people ask about the range today, right? They're like, oh, well, how'd that range turn out? And it's like, I put in here this morning that, hey, most puts, we're going to, so I put in this morning, we're opening at 403.50. Most puts are expiring at 395, 400. Calls at 405 and 410. The optimal range would be between 400 and 405, but we were right up against the top range. So 410 on Monday is where you get the biggest amount of options. Always look ahead to the next day. Remember, I won't keep saying that, but it's true. And so, of course, I think we went to 408.80 or something like that. And so, it's not a surprise, but always look ahead to the next day. Because remember, this is a production. It's a game, okay? And so that's what you want to do. That's why we're getting these crazy moves, and we're closing, gapping down, gapping up, closing the gaps, all this stuff. And so, there is a lot of movement, and push and bullishness in the market. That's just the way it is, right? No matter which camp you're in there. But, and also when you're looking at these charts and stuff, like I'm not a chart master or anything. I've taught myself how to do it, but, I watch a lot of videos. That's a good thing about YouTube, right? Everything's free on YouTube to learn. This Tesla move, which is crazy. And I'm just guessing when I say what I said in the beginning and stuff. As far as being a push up, I mean, shorts are getting crushed. There's people still trying to short this thing, and they're having to cover, right? Like, oh my God, this is a crazy move. But I'm not surprised, and it's kind of just comes down to one chart, and I think I might have showed you this or not, but on the 24th, right before earnings, I was like, hey, if this has good earnings, right? It could easily run to 155 and then to 175, because when you look at the chart, there was no resistance, right? Going up, because it ran up so fast back in the day and it dropped so fast. And also this chart right here, that volume gap. If you can find these volume gaps, sometimes they just fly right through it. The SPY did it today, I believe it was. This actually does, and you can see as soon as we started hitting a volume shelf, it was like, oh, it started pausing, right? And started selling back down a little bit and calming down. But yeah, if you can find stocks like that, and especially with no resistance that have just ran up so fast and got dropped so fast down, there's just no resistance to let it move up, right? And then of course, there's always going to be people trying to short it and everything because they see these big moves and they're like, you got to short it. And I'm like, be careful. It's Tesla. I mean, retail, once they get in, they're not going to sell it, right? And there's a lot of obviously firms and institutions, big money getting into it as well. And so, that's just a tidbit if you hadn't played around with it. And for some reason, TradeView, I don't like the volume profile. Let me know down at the bottom if you got a volume profile you like in TradeView, because I actually like TradeView better. But when it comes to TrendSpider, I've been playing around with it. I like their volume profile better, but it tends to play out. But I've done a few of these now like that, and looking at it, and it's just one of those things. If it has room, and it usually runs fast. And if it's coming down and you hit a volume gap, it usually drops pretty fast. I've seen this many times now already when I've been looking at this. So it's just something else I'm looking at. I like to play around with indicators and stuff like that. But, that's where we're at, guys. I mean, let me know down the bottom if you're in one of the camps or not in one of the camps, or just kind of looking around, or you're just waiting for FOMC, right? Waiting for the meeting to see what they do at this point in time. Because, again, still ain't got no answer on lumber, by the way. That thing is running up like crazy. And some people say, well, that's bullish, right? Copper's running up and everything. And that's another thing to look at. With this data that came out today, we're just holding up. Like American Express, they put their whole full year guidance out there. They were up huge. Visa, MasterCard, they're like, hey, we're not seeing, any of this stuff you guys are seeing on recession. Remember in December, I took a lot of heat when I was telling people, I was like, man, I don't know what recession you're talking about right now. The indicator, actually in November, I think I was saying it, but, it's just the stuff I'm looking at doesn't show it right now. Does it mean it ain't going to happen? Of course not. But again, the labor market is just holding up. Boeing just came out and said they're going to hire 10,000 people this year. To build their planes. And that's good paying jobs. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, I told you Walmart's giving their people raises. And there was one other company, I don't know if it was Walmart or somebody else, but they said they're going to do a big hiring spree as well. And so I said, I know these big tech firms laying off. That's because they hired so many people during the pandemic. But, right now the labor market's, it's doing their thing, and the Fed's not going to raise rates that much more, right? And, I was listening to somebody talk about how it's not about the rate they get to, it's about the velocity of the rate hikes, right? And that's why the market sold off fast with those 75 basis point rate hikes. And then as soon as they slowed them down, that's when the market will turn and everything. And so I don't know, I don't know if it's a new bull market. I know, or it's just one of those moments where the market knows we're screwed later on, like 3 to 6 months down the line. So they're going to run this puppy up, to short it really, really high at a high point, and then we get the crash again. I don't know. I mean, I don't. And I don't know anybody that tells you they do. I don't think. I mean, I know some seasoned investors and traders that are still sitting there shaking their head going, the data is so mixed up right now. This part of data I've showed it says this. This data over here says this. And that's just the way it is. When you look under the hood, the economic data sucks. It just does, right? But the labor market is still strong, and these rate hikes, they just aren't slowing it down. They aren't phasing it, right? And so, people are still out there buying cars like crazy, buying houses. I did see one today, which I guess I'll show you Sunday, about car delinquencies, which not good. But again, I'll show you why that chart really means nothing. I'll show you that. Okay. So anyway, hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you Sunday.